So Minnesota did a dumb thing, really dumb. Minnesota regulators have unanimously approved the $6.2 billion acquisition of Minnesota Power by investment group BlackRock. The Minnesota Utilities Commission voted to allow the group led by BlackRock and the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board to take over Alete, I don't know if that's how you pronounce that, Minnesota's power parent company. Regulators believed the imposed conditions will protect the public's interest and prevent customer rate hikes, because historically, when you turn necessary resources over to private companies, it prevents hikes, right? Y'all, this is not good. The approval comes amid a national context of rising electricity bills, which is partially driven by the massive energy demands on data centers and artificial intelligence, which, yes, you are individually paying for their data centers and the energy use. That is largely why your energy bills are going up. Opponents warned the private equity firm would prioritize profits over customers, because that's what they'll do, potentially leading to higher bills and lower accountability, which is exactly what will happen. The dumbass supporters, including the governor's administration and labor unions, argued the new ownership would provide the capital needed to help the utility transition to 100% carbon-free energy by 2040. It's not what they're going to do. This is really bad. We all know BlackRock is like one of the biggest problems in the freaking world. And them owning your access to electricity, even in one state, that's just a start. And you know that's just a start. And that's not good. And just another reminder, your state governments are not for you. Sorry.
At a time when AES is already asking the state to approve a rate hike that would increase people's bills by an average of $21 a month, some predict it may not stop there.
BlackRock is looking to make as much money as possible off of our backs by taking that money out of our wallets through the various ways that they can leverage that power.
BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, is reportedly close to purchasing AES, which provides power to Indianapolis and some surrounding areas. The firm has been going after utility companies. Regulators in Minnesota approved its purchase of a power company there earlier this month. Ben Inskeep with the Citizens Action Coalition warns it's a worrying trend.
The more one company resembles a monopoly, the worse the outcomes are for consumers in terms of prices.
The widely held belief is that BlackRock's interest in utility companies has to do with the boom in artificial intelligence. Data centers are popping up across the country and require massive amounts of electricity, which means there's lots of money to be made.
When there is so much aggregated capital and power that's being harnessed around these sort of new technology developments, the consumers are they're the last voice that gets heard.
Jerry Hayes is a lecturer of finance at Indiana University with expertise in venture capital. He, too, expressed concern about the firm's ownership of utilities. While the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission would have to approve any rate hikes, Hayes says BlackRock's goal is to make money, and they'll do it any way they can.
It's a little bit scary, honestly, for one company to have that much control over so much of the sort of consumer population with respect to costs that are real and really impact families and their ability to put food on the table.
While the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission has power over rate hikes, it does not have the power to approve or deny the purchase. The Citizens Action Coalition is calling on state lawmakers to make changes to give them that ability. Meanwhile, as for BlackRock and AES, neither have commented on the potential purchase. In the newsroom, I'm Max Lewis, CBS.
Well, PNM announced that its parent company is asking state regulators to sign off on a huge business deal, one that would see the power company sold to one of the biggest investment firms on the planet. PNM, currently owned by TXNM Energy, and today they filed an application with the state's Public Regulation Commission to be taken over by the investment firm Blackstone Infrastructure. If approved, the deal would be worth $11.5 billion. PNM says the money invested from Blackstone would allow them to give customers a $105 million rate credit over 4 years. That's expected to lower electric bills by 3.5%. PNM expects the regulation process to take a year before the decision is reached.
a very, very thorough review of this will happen, not just here in New Mexico, but on multiple fronts. So when we get to the final approval of this, people can be assured that it has been looked at by very many people.
This filing comes after PNM's failed merger with energy company Avangrid last year.
I'm Rosa Corey, and I'm from the United States, California. And my topic, what I speak about, is one of the most vitally important issues of our age, and that is United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. And as I'll be talking about tomorrow, it is the inventory and control plan. Inventory and control of all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all food, all energy, all information, and all human beings in the world. And this is a plan that was agreed to by 179 nations back in 1992. It's a United Nations plan. It's called the Agenda for the 21st Century.
I'm in. I'm never gonna stop. I know. Get what I want.
Take over. The break's over.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, all praise, and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, Ba'ashim, Arachak, Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations unto the full elect tabernacle of David scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. Now, in the words of David in the book of Psalms, he said that he have saw the wicked spreading themselves in the earth as a green bay tree. And they're spreading in their power. Let me go to it real quick. Because, the moves that these devils are making, it's telling you all you need to know. Them buying up all the resources of the earth, them moving people out of the rural areas and into these major cities. The fact that they're setting up all these AI data centers, they're definitely moving towards their objective, to set up this global technocracy where they can pretty much rule over you and play the Most High. All right, and these are the moves, these are steps that they're taking. Psalms 37 and verse 35, and it says, I have seen the wicked in great power and spreading himself like a green bay tree. They're extending themselves, buying up all the utilities, the power grids, the water supply, which they're actually using up. Our water supply here in the States, and, the West Coast is in the midst of a drought, but they need that water, just to keep their supercomputers cooled so that they don't overheat. So they're going to drain your life essentials just so that they can continue to give power to the image of the beast. All right, this is what they're doing. Okay, this is how they're going to keep their AI system alive. They need all the electricity and water that they can generate. Okay, and that's why the scriptures say, this man is as deaf and can never be satisfied, man. Habakkuk 2 and verse 5, it says, yet also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as deaf, and cannot be satisfied. And that's why, they just, it's what the scriptures say, they can't sleep except they have done mischief. When the morning is light, they practice it. Woe unto them that work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand, and they have the resource, they have the money, the material wealth, the monetary wealth to get this thing done. You know, and no matter what happens, they can never be satisfied. Their appetite for control and complete authority on earth is very insatiable. So they don't care if you know, it's draining the blood of the earth, the resources of the earth. This is more than likely why they're gonna go for Maduro, because their biggest trade partner in that oil down there is Russia. You know, and they're in Babylon's at odds with Russia. So under the guise of trying to stop, you know, the cartels and, you know, this fake drug war that they're narrating, you know, is really to topple that regime so that they can get access to all that oil. So this man, he's at his desire is hell and his ass death. All right. He want access to everything so that he can control it. And you heard what that woman said, Rosa Kaur, which I believe she's deceased. I believe they took her out of there. They took her out. You know, because she was going into it and breaking down that whole agenda. They want control of everything that you need, every necessity. All right. In life essential, they want total control over that so that they can be the head and you be the tail so that they can lend to you. So so we have to continue to go to them for the want of all things. So the move that they're making is pushing everybody further into poverty. All right. So that's another reason why this man is eventually going to get taken down. All right. It says, and is as deaf and cannot be satisfied, you know, setting up all these, you know, well, in 2020, under the guise of it being a global pandemic, you know, they managed to shut everything down and they started making their beginning moves on this objective. Well, everybody was forced to be inside because they had you under fear that if you stepped outside, you know, you're going to come in contact with, you know, with this invisible virus, all right, that was putting people in these hospitals and filling these hospitals up. And it was straight up enchantment, witchcraft the whole entire time. And meanwhile, you had the cell tower installers, they was able to come outside. No fear of nothing. And they installed them. And when you came out your house, you noticed that they were all up, all these 5G towers. But that was all part of the beginning stages, man. Then all these AI data centers all over the place. And then you have all these string of so-called natural disasters, which we believe that they're engineered, you know, by his weather modification technology. They've been causing all these massive floods and wildfires. You know, a lot of pollution and contamination of your fields. So all that was to help basically have these corporations with these land grabs where they were, you know, purchasing, you know, all these different lands, properties. And now they're buying up your utilities, your energy, these power grids. So you already know what they're in store for. It says, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. So, you know, this is what they're doing right now because they have the power to do so. But like the scriptures tell us, let's go to back to Psalm 37. Does it seem like they're succeeding? Right? It's looking like they're going to, you know, eventually, you know, meet their goals. But that's just them filling their bellies. Psalm 37. And while they're making these kind of moves, the world is distracted. You know, you got you know, a lot of internal division and fighting. You got, you know, Trump sending ICE after the tribes. You know, now all of a sudden the cartels are involved. They're putting bounties on ICE agents. You know, they're doxing ICE agents. ICE agents, you know, arresting law enforcement. It's just a total mess. But all this is all part of the distraction to the simple fact that the globalists, the banksters through these corporations, they're buying up everything because they want to have this entire world sold up. Okay, this is how they're gonna help their AI, their basically the image of the beast. They're giving life to it, and this is how they're gonna do it. Okay, Psalm 37 and 7, it says, "Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass." Let me get it in the NLT. And everything right now, he's throwing all kind of enchantments out there to keep the masses, you know, looking one way, which is basically away from the move that they're making. Because it's too obvious, you know, what's happening. All right. And now you see in the advancement of AI, more surveillance, monitoring, big brother technology, all these digital currency rollouts. You're seeing it, man. Digital IDs. Now they starting one in Mexico. So we're approaching, man. All right. MOTB bound. This is how they're going to control the entire world. It says, hold up, let me go to, Psalm 37 and 7 in the CSB. It says, "Be silent before the Lord and wait expectantly for him. Do not be agitated by one who prospers in his way, by the person who carries out evil plans. Refrain from anger and give up your rage. Do not be agitated. It can only bring harm. For evildoers will be destroyed, but those who put their hope in the Lord will inherit the land. A little while and the wicked person will be no more. Though you look for him, he will not be there." All right, because eventually Esau is going to be brought down. Right now, he's deceived by his pride. The pride of his heart is deceiving him, and he's trusting in, you know, his knowledge, and it's corrupting him. So that's why he has that God complex. Isaiah 47 and verse 10, and it says, "For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me, thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me." And only the Lord can say that. So just having his attitude alone, he's placing himself in that seat. So you already know the Lord's going to come for him eventually, but right now prophecy has to take its place, where he's going to, you know, he will be like the Most High. All right. He's going to be exalted, you know, where the scriptures say that his excellency is going to reach the clouds, but he's going to be brought down. Job 20 and verse 6, and it says, I'll start at 4. It says, "Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment? Though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he?" Because the Lord's going to take him down out of power, and it's going to be suddenly. All right, very, very quick. All right, he's gonna you know, get rid of them with a speedy riddance. So that's why we have to be patient, because he's building all this in vain. It's all being built in vain. Even going back to the prophecy of Esau returning to build the desolate places, you know, he said, I will return and build. And the Lord said, though you build, he will throw down. Let me go to it. Because right now they're in the process of building their digital Tower of Babel, okay? Where everything would be under their control through AI. Malachi 1. And I'm going to start the second verse. And it says, I have loved you, saith the Lord, yet you say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness. All right. So you already know wherever Esau resides, you know it's going to be evil there. It's going to be wickedness there. It's going to be lawlessness there. Okay. Wherever he has control, there's definitely going to be ungodliness there. An ungodly regime, government, leaders. It says, and the people against whom the Lord have indignation forever. And the Lord sees it all, man. His eyes are in every place. Just like you're trying to put your technology everywhere where you can see any and everything. The Lord, he got you in the scopes. He's looking at everything that you're doing. All right. And the Lord is only allowing you to get, you know, to a certain pinnacle before he takes your ass down. But you're no different than Nimrod and what they attempted to do during the Tower of Babel. All right, trying to, you know, bring everybody together under one basically under one mind. Everybody, you know, speaking the same ideology, same belief. You know, basically trying to go against the grain. You know, like it says in Psalms 2, why do the heathen rage? Psalm 2:1, it says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? You know, basically this New World Order, the WEF, the idea of the whole WEF and all the objectives and mission statements coming from out of that wicked secret council. It says the kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together, saying against, right? They take counsel against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. Basically, we don't want to be under the control of the God of the heavens and the earth, the King of the universe, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We don't want to be up under their control. So we're going to break away from that, and we're going to be the ones to control. We're going to be the ones to have all the authority. And this is the Lord's response to that. Verse 4, he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, the Lord shall have them in derision. Yeah, because the Lord, he's watching every bit of it. And understand this. Let's go here. Proverbs 21:30 says, there is no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel against the Lord. You can't do it. The Lord, he's the one that's ultimately in control. You're trying to be in control. And to a certain extent, he's allowing you to only get so far because like Daniel said, you know, this decree is by the watchers, that the living may know that the Lord rules in the kingdom of men. All right, there's Daniel 4:17, it says, this matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set up over it the basis of men. And you know, Esau, And even these other nations up under Esau, Moab, that's all conspirators with them to reshape and redesign the order in the earth. They all are getting beside themselves. They're forgetting that, the Most High is ultimately in control, and, they're just men. And the Lord's going to remind them that they're just men. Right now, you just have the power of the left hand. Okay? But the Lord's going to disappoint that eventually. Job 5:12, it says, he disappointed the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. Yeah, just like he did during the Tower of Babel. All right, he confounded their languages and basically divided them up. All right, because they sought out their own invention at the time, so the Lord had to disrupt that and divided it up. Okay, and Nimrod, he was out of there. So yeah, this devil, he thinks that he's gonna be the one that's special, and this is how he's gonna fulfill his version of the birthright. But it's gonna be disappointed. You only gonna be able to go so far with this. Okay, and this ain't for the betterment of the world. What he's trying to do, sustainable development. No, it's all about control. Push everybody into these rural areas, move them into these so-called smart cities, so that you can rule everybody through AI. That's it. All right, this is you giving life to the image of the beast that the image should speak, and people are gonna know, they're gonna wonder, they're gonna be in admiration of the power. All right, this fourth industrial revolution where you're trying to enhance humans through AI. People are going to become dependent upon it. People are going to look to it for all solutions and answers. So the Lord sees what you're doing, man. And the Lord's going to he's going to disrupt it. Let's go to Psalm 33. And it says, the Lord bringeth the counsel of the heathen to naught. He maketh the devices of the people of none effect. The counsel of the Lord standeth forever, the thoughts of his heart to all generations. All right, let's go from there to Psalm 140:8. And it says, grant not, O Yahweh, the desires of the wicked, further not his wicked device, lest they exalt themselves. Salah. And this is the portion of the ungodly that prosper in this world, man. They trust in their riches, and what they're doing is they're using it to buy up everything. Everything that we rely on as a life essential or necessity, they're gonna own it. That's why when they was first pushing and marketing this whole Agenda 2030 thing, the slogan was you will own nothing and you will be happy. And that's the reason why the economy is going the way it is. They trying to basically drain the people. They're trying to drain the swamps. They're clearing out the middle class, pushing people down into the working poor. Going to watch Elysium. That's the disparity that they want. Everybody to be wanting on earth while they get to, chill cozy in their Elysium. Okay? So the Lord's gonna, eventually step in. We just gotta be patient. But until then, the whole world's gonna lie in wickedness. So 1 John 5:19 in the I read it in the NIV, and it says, "We know that we are the children of the Most High, and that the whole world is under the control of the evil one." And that's basically what it is. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. So he's gonna have this control until the Lord comes back, until that rock, that stone, all right, cut without hands, is gonna come down and break in pieces the toes of the beast. All right, the Son of Man is gonna come down. All right, and it tells you that with Daniel 8, that he's gonna try to fight against the Prince of Princes, and he's not gonna win. Yeah, Daniel 8:25, it says, and just to qualify it, it's going back to the Greek Empire. All right, which the same man who this is prophesying about, Epiphanes, he tried to institute his one world or new world order, that everybody should speak one and this and that and the third. You read First Maccabees, so this is what he did. Everybody need to worship this God. He tried to, place himself in that position. All right. And he persecuted the saints of the Most High. He set up policies. We couldn't identify as Israelites. He brought the abomination of desolation in the temple. He did all that. Tried to defy the Most High until the Most High made an example out of his ass. So Daniel 8:25, it says, "And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand." All right, and right now his craft that he's using is his technology. All right, which is the left hand power. And through his policy, let me look up that word policy. The word is shakal, and it means intelligence. And right now he's using his artificial intelligence, meaning it's pseudo. It's just part of his lying wonders. Okay, and they're gonna use that to police you. AI police, drones telling you when you can come in and come and go. Just imagine that, robots telling you, your measure of what you can have, what you can't have. Your money is digital based, so it's controllable, it's programmable. So yeah, man. And through his policy also shall he cause craft. Marma'ah in the Hebrew. And it says, in the sense of deceiving, fraud, craft, deceitful, false, feign, guile, subtlety, treachery, deceit. His lying wonders through, his technology. He's going to cause that to prosper in his hand. All right. But we are not to fret ourselves because of him who prosper in his way. Right. It says, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, exalting himself, trying to be like the Most High. It says, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the Prince of Princes, but he shall be broken without hand. So he's going to be eventually brought down. Okay. So this is what's going down, man. All right. It's basically the control, the takeover. This is and it all, when you go back to what happened in 2020, it all makes sense what they were doing. Bill Gates, they all are a part of this. Buying up everything, buying up all the farmland, everything. So, yeah, this devil, he got a lot to pay. But that's why when the destruction comes, it's going to be the destruction of E. Since this all pertains to him now, and he wants everything under his control in his hands, when the Lord destroys this current setup, that's when it's going to be the end of E. Esau's the end of the world. So it's going to pass away with that fervent heat and great noise, where everything's going to be burnt up, and all the elements You know, all these AI data centers and, you know, everything that he put his hands on is all going to get destroyed. Everything that he managed to touch, the Lord's going to destroy it. And it's going to send a message to the rest of the world. And that's when they're all going to be brought down and subjugated under the Lord's feet. So I thought I'd, you know, go into this and, you know, hopefully y'all were edified because, yeah, BlackRock, Vanguard, they don't want you to notice, all right, what they're doing with their pockets, but you can clearly see, all right, your water source, all your energy, basically the whole control grid is going to take a lot of power, a lot of energy, electricity. That's why they've been talking about, what's that, that exercise that they did back in 2021, Polygon. All right, the exercise Polygon, about there being a cyber security attack on your power grid. You know, all these different power outages and your service providers going down. That's all part of the PSY, OPP. So that they can make that shift, that transition, all right, from these little companies to the corporation. So hopefully y'all edified. I'm going to give all honor, all praise, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And until the next lesson, I say, Shalom.